Most people could think about what they want. They could think about what they would like to achieve. However, not everybody is dwelling in their desires. With that we mean living from your desires on a permanent basis, where your whole thought and emotions are tied in an harmony with your greatest heart's desires. So through this video I wanted to share with you some techniques that I've used successfully in order to keep myself dwelling in the end of my desires. So that way they can always be expressed with and through me over a certain period of time. This is a method that you can use in order to express your own dreams once and for all. So let's get right into it. Okay, in today's video we will discuss a few practical techniques that you can use right now in order to manifest your own goals, because we all have dreams to a certain extent, but sadly the majority of us never achieve any of them to begin with. And we want to change that around, because as long as you're here on planet Earth, there are dreams in your heart that the universe wants to express with and through you. So you should not get rid of your own dreams. You should not doubt in yourself. You should start believing in yourself and in your own dreams. Now, what should the first step be? What should a person realize? No matter what your circumstances are, there's one thing you can always do, and that is to exercise the power of your own consciousness. With this we mean you have the ability to think whatever you want to think. Now the question always remains, what do you think about most of your time? Because what you're thinking about most of your time is ultimately going to dictate the direction in which you will build your life. So the first step in demonstrating that you can manifest your dreams, no matter where you are currently physically, is that you have to figure out what you want. So on the screen we'll put the words there. We'll guide you along this process. You can read along. It says the first step is to know exactly what you want. Now this is very interesting, because this is also where most people get stuck instantly. You know why they get stuck? Well, even though you can think about anything you want, even though you could think about something absolutely wonderful for yourself and your life, because of old belief systems we tend to throw it out of our minds pretty rapidly. You know, if you're honest with yourself, you probably have done this at times in your life. Hopefully you're doing it less and less, but in your past, perhaps you can remember those times when you were thinking about wanting something. You were like, I would like to have this, I would like to achieve this. But for whatever reason, you instantly also said, but it's probably not possible, or that's ridiculous, I could never achieve that. There's no way, that is way too hard to achieve. You see what's happening here? You throw the dream out of your consciousness. That's not what you want to do. If you want to dwell in your desires, the part of that is holding the idea of what you want inside your consciousness. So again, let me ask you the question. What do you really want to achieve with your life? What is the area in your life that you want to improve? It doesn't matter so much what the area is. What matters is having a clear idea of what you want, what you're after. Now, once you figure that out, I want you to do a few things. First of all, I want you to write it out or type it out on your computer. Because again, you can think about what you want, but just thinking about it with all the distractions in life might cause you to lose track of it altogether if you don't watch out. So this is what I personally do myself. I write out what I want to achieve. I have goals and I write them out. I actually do it both. I write and type them out. So when I type them out, I actually turn them into a wallpaper on my computer, so I can look at them every time I start up my computer. I see the goals that I'm after. It's an instant reminder to my consciousness that this should be my focus. This is where we're going with our lives. And by writing them out, I can put them somewhere near on my desk, near my monitors, and I can even write, or at least I can read there on the piece of paper exactly what the goal is, what the dream is. So by doing that first step for yourself, you learn to zoom in your consciousness to a certain goal. So you learn to at least, even though you might not believe it's possible, you learn to at least open up your mind to the possibility of it potentially happening. To say it like that is perhaps the best way, because again, most people have a tendency to throw the dream out if it doesn't seem realistic, but we don't want to do that. You want to give yourself the opportunity to at least look at your dreams, because what's the worst that can happen by doing this? I mean, you don't have to pay me money, you don't have to pay money to do this in your own life. So what's the worst that could happen? Instead of throwing this idea out being ridiculous, where you're like, well, I could think of what I want, but it's just so big what I want, Ranil. It's probably not possible for me. Instead of doing that stuff, what's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen is that you at least figure out what you want for your life, right? And that's not even terrible, to be really honest. So you would learn to write out what you want, even though it seems unrealistic, you still write it out anyway. Because then you have something to look at, to think about, more specifically throughout your days. And that is the first step in dwelling in your desires. That is the first step that you need to take in order for it to one day manifest in and as your life. So that's what I suggest you do right now if you haven't done so. What are those wonderful dreams inside your consciousness, inside your heart, that you would like to achieve, but for whatever reason you haven't gone for them because you thought they were impossible to achieve? Here we come along suggesting to you, just think about them. Just allow them to flow freely through your consciousness. At first it may be tricky, there might still be a tendency to want to throw it out, but you gotta set that aside. You gotta set aside your own doubts. And even though it might seem difficult if you've never tried this is what you need to train yourself in. To achieve the ability to think about what you want and only about what you want. Now, of course, at times you will think about stuff that you do not want, that is of a negative nature, that's part of life. But the idea is that we want to focus most of our times on what we want. So again, what do you really want? Write it out, and then you have taken the first step. Then you have something that you can look at each and every single day. Many times throughout your day, you can look at what you wrote down, whether it's a financial goal, a career goal, relationship goal, health goal, whatever it is. Maybe you want to move to a different country. Maybe you've had a dream of moving somewhere else than where you're living right now. And for whatever reason you thought it wouldn't be possible, write it out anyway. You're getting the point here? This is what you do. Because then you open up your consciousness to your own dreams in the right way. So that is the first step. Now, if we go to the second step, this is very important because here we're going to use our imagination. You have one, I have one, everyone has one, and we can exercise this imagination to a purpose. We can do it in a positive, powerful manner if we take control of it. You see, most people use their imagination against themselves. You have been using it against yourself. I have been using it against myself. Everyone does to a certain extent. What we mean by this is that we tend to use our imagination unconsciously to imagine things not working out for us. Have you been doing that concerning your own dreams? Have you been imagining unconsciously, perhaps, that things won't ever work out for you anyway? So in your mind, it's like you're seeing that the result wouldn't happen for you. It's like you're seeing all sorts of bad scenarios run through your mind of what could possibly go wrong, potentially go wrong for you while you're pursuing your dream. Now, that's also not what you want to do. You want to stop doing that. You want to change your imagination around. You want to change the direction of your imagination. So for step 2, we would suggest you start to imagine in as much detail what your dream would entail if it were now a reality. This may seem like nonsense to you at first. You might not grasp why you would want to do this, but the idea behind it is that by doing this, you're training and programming your mind, so to speak, to stay focused in a certain direction of where you want to go with your life. If you allow your imagination to stay inactive, or at least undirected by you, it's gonna run all over the place with all sorts of ideas, and many times they're contradicting ideas. They're visions and concepts that work against us instead of for us. So this is the power and idea behind using your imagination willingly to specifically start seeing and visualizing for yourself what you would like your life to be and what it would look like if it were now a reality. So again, no matter what your dream is, you can do this. These are little games at first that we play with ourselves, but they're actually very, very powerful techniques that will cause us to attract and also move in the direction of where we always wanted to go with our lives. So you see, if you've done the first step correctly, you do have some idea of what you want for yourself right now. Now I want you to close your eyes and start visualizing what it looks like. What would you be doing if this were now reality? For example, if it's a financial goal, well, there's a reason why you would want a certain amount of money or more money in your life. There's probably things you want to do with it. Perhaps invest in business career opportunities, or you want to take a trip, or you want to buy a certain thing that you've always wanted, maybe an expensive car or a home, whatever it is. But you see, once you set a financial goal like that, if you start imagining what you're gonna do with the money, if you do this, you'll notice inside of yourself, your desire starts to grow. You start to feel excited and sort of like hopeful again. You're like, this is what I really want though. And it's so awesome that I can imagine now about having it, even though it's not here physically. I can start feeling it and seeing it within my consciousness. You see, that is the important part, that you can do this, and you have to grasp the importance of this. Don't underestimate it, because again, these things are programming your mind to stay focused in that direction. So what will happen? Well, I can guarantee what will happen is over a certain period of time from our current point of perception is that you'll move towards it and you'll achieve that dream no matter what it was. But you see, if we don't believe in it, we're gonna keep blocking the dream out of our consciousness. But by opening ourselves up to this process, we'll start to believe in our dreams. And that is exactly what you need. You need to believe in yourself. All throughout history, it was always told to mankind that they need to believe in themselves and their dreams if they want to make something great out of their lives. So that is the second step, is for you to see in details what it would look like if it were now reality. Even with a relationship goal, you could see yourself in a marvelous, wonderful relationship. You could see yourself being a loving person and being loved by a potential perfect partner for you. You could see, as Neville would say, wearing a wedding ring on one of the fingers on your hands. You would start feeling that ring there inside your imagination, and you walk around with the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You do this through the power of your imagination. You can give yourself that feeling. That's what we're after. And with weight goals, you can do the same. You can see yourself at your ideal weight through your imagination already. And then you allow that concept to dominate your consciousness. So again, you have the first step is to figure out what it is that you want. The second step is to imagine its fulfillment inside your consciousness. And now we're ready for the third step. Now the third step is again heavily tied to the second step, and it deals all about your emotions. It's all about how you're feeling right now. So what we would suggest and say at this point is that you need to start feeling as well how you would feel if your dream were now a reality, because this is what causes consciousness to dwell in the desire and attract the manifestation of your own dream. Now with manifestation we mean the realization of a certain goal. So manifestation is a very metaphysical term, but in other words, by doing this you'll attract the ways to the realization of your own dream. If you believe in this process, it will prove itself in the testing. It will also prove itself when you try to misuse this power. It works for both good and bad goals that we might set for ourselves. So in your case, it's vitally important. This part, the feeling part, is so important. It's something that took me a couple of years to really sort of zoom in on for myself, is that it really is about how you're actually feeling. Because it's pretty easy, if we're honest and open-minded enough, to figure out what we want. What seems to be more trickier though is to actually feel the feeling as if it's already true and live permanently in that assumption, in that mood, all day, every day. Even though physically you might not have any proof or evidence that your dream can be realized in this moment of time, you still want to carry that mood of fulfilled desires within yourself on a permanent basis. This is something you probably have to train. Most of us have. I had to train it, and I'm still training it, because it's so easy to allow your moods to go all over the place. It's easy to feel bad or to feel in contradictions concerning your dream, but that's not what we want to do any longer. We want to start feeling what it would be like if our dreams were now a reality. And it's absolutely beautiful what happens. First of all, you will feel better on a daily basis in general. You'll enjoy your life more. It gives you new purpose. You can literally feel it. Because of those emotions, you also feel like you're on purpose again. You're growing towards something that you really want after all. So you synced up your own imagination with your own emotions. And what happens then is that you'll be compelled and inspired to do all sorts of stuff that you've never done before. That is the beauty. And that is also when you start dwelling in your desire, as we would call it in spiritual and metaphysical texts. That's the purpose of this video. How you can dwell in your desires so it shall come into manifestation. Well, you can do that, and you do it automatically if you take these 3 steps to heart. So consider them well and really think about how you're applying it. In your case, it might still be a bit confusing if you think about feeling what it would be like if your dream were now reality. Well, don't make it complicated for yourself, because again, you might have a tendency to want to sort of think to yourself, well, why would this work? Why should I do this anyway? Well, get rid of that idea for a moment here and just trust us in this process, is that when you start doing this, when you simply consider, well, how would I actually feel if I now had the money I wanted, if I now had the relationship I wanted, if I was now at the weight that I want to be at, if I now had the career that I'm passionate about doing in my life, how would I really feel if this were all a reality for me right now? By allowing your consciousness to open up in this direction, you automatically start to hook yourself up on energetically speaking with your own dream. Because emotions, imagination, thoughts, they're all forms of energy. And this way, on an inner energetic conscious level, you hook yourself up with your own dream. And as long as you keep that mood alive within yourself, as long as you keep magnifying your own desires by constantly imagining in more and more detail and with more and more joy what your dream is all about, well, the stronger your desires, the faster you'll achieve your dream. And not only that, it will simply cause it so that you will be compelled every single day to keep working and growing and unfolding towards the direction of your own dream. It will come into your life. It will become your life experience. So let these steps sink into your heart and contemplate them deeply. Through this life experience, we learn about our individual preferences, and we can then build those up inside the realm of consciousness. And once we build them up inside our minds and magnifying them there, with magnifying we mean feeling more and more emotionally intense about the dream, they start to expand within our physical lives. But always keep in mind that the magnifying of the desire inside consciousness is the most important part, for the rest takes care of itself. There are dimensions in life through which your desires will show themselves. They are not bound by time and space. So one should not be obsessed with just the physical side alone, for it is just one of many realms through which our own desires will manifest themselves. Just try to grasp that if you can enjoy your desire purely in mind, you will be able to enjoy them spiritually first and ultimately physically. But if for whatever reason you seem to have missed your mark physically, you still hold the desire spiritually, which is the main cause for the phenomena you perceive seemingly independent of yourself, or at times that is perceived physically. In the end, it all depends on whether we are dwelling inside our own desires. So forget about checking up constantly on the physical world whether your dream is manifesting fast enough or not. For any idea you hold in your mind with total faith and conviction will move into form anyway. Simply focus on your desires and let them be expressed with and through you. With this attitude, there will always be a free flow from the inner world of your desires and imagination to your outer world of results. It will simply start overflowing into your physical life itself. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.